Classic.
Good evening, everybody. We are back with another Phins Forecast show.
Yes.
Dolphins lost to the Texans on Sunday, and we covered that on Sunday's post game show. So if you haven't seen that yet, go and check that out. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that Texans game tonight. We're gonna talk about the 49ers. We're gonna talk about what the future looks like for the Dolphins. To be more specific, what the rest of the season looks like for the Dolphins. So, with that being said, we're going to join you guys right after this. All right. Good evening, everybody. This is our last show before Christmas. So I'm going to start off the show by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope everybody's going to have a happy and safe holiday.
Wait, is the Sunday show the last show before Christmas?
Oh, yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, that's my mistake.
So assuming we all get on. It's going to be Sunday night.
It's a pre-Merry Christmas.
Yes. But, we are going to be jumping on Sunday to talk about the post-game show for the 49ers game. Is going to be around 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. If you guys want to tune in for that. But first and foremost, how are we doing tonight? Anthony, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, dude. I'm doing good. So we go for, a big scan tomorrow for the pregnancy, which is like supposed to be the final, definitive, your baby's healthy sort of scan. So looking forward to that. And then last night we bought a new car in anticipation of the baby boy. So, so we get
a car, a minivan. What is it?
We went with the Kia Telluride, actually.
Hey, that's what my wife has, I think.
Really?
Like yeah, she loves it.
He says I think.
Well, it's either the Telluride or the whatever the
Sorrento.
It is. Yeah, that's it. That's what she's got.
Yeah. So we looked at a bunch of them, and Telluride was actually really low on our list, and then we drove it, and it's freaking luxury in a car, man. It's great. So we're trading in 2 cars for 1 to kind of make this happen.
Okay.
You got to make some sacrifices for the children, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anthony, I drove a Kia for years, and I drove a Kia Spectra for
yes. Oh,
So they're good cars. I do like Kias.
I'm looking forward to it. I've had a Hyundai for the past 3 years, and they're the same company essentially. So
okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
You stepped up.
Josh, how you doing tonight, man?
Living my best life, buddy.
Nice.
Just anxious for the wife to get home safe and sound from all of her work stuff that she's doing right now. But I've taken a few steps back off the ledge after last week's game. I mean, I'm still in bad shape, but honestly, it's time to turn our attention to some other things as a franchise, as an organization, have some hard conversations. And I'm, as much as it sucks as a Dolphins fan, as a podcaster, it's exciting. So I'm really genuinely looking forward to some of the content we're going to be able to do.
Oh, absolutely. This off season is going to be a big off season for the Dolphins, regardless of what they decide to do with Mike Daniel and Chris Greer and, just everything as far as the franchise goes moving forward. Mm-hmm. But
just as long as they're having the hard conversations too, and not just us 3 guys on this podcast. Right? Make sure that's getting done.
Yeah. And I know, we did the post-game show on Sunday, and we were all a little bit emotional. We were all a little bit, we were all pretty down after that game because I genuinely expected a win. Cap for life, thanks for joining us, man. Great to have you back on the show. But so let's talk about that game just a little bit more, just flesh it out a little bit from the standpoint of 3 guys who are 3 days removed from that game. So Anthony, do you have any final thoughts on that game?
Well, I certainly don't feel any better. I mean, 3 days removed or not. 3 days removed or not, it was ugly. We played like crap. The team that had been scoring 30 points a game only scored 12, and just looked completely lost once again because we were playing a team with a winning record. It's so stupid. I don't understand. That team was beatable by this team, by our team. We had just as good, if not better, on paper team, but we are weak and we are soft. And Jordan Poyer coming onto the equation did not change that. Okay?
No.
Sure didn't. Yeah. He doesn't mind talking about it, though.
Yeah. And, to that point, when Jordan Poyer talked about that in the offseason, I thought, all right, let's go. Maybe he's going to add some grit to this team. And that has not been the case.
No, he certainly did not.
Which is why that gentleman is on my forever jockstrap list.
Hey, you changed it last week, though. You changed it.
Well, he got an honorable mention.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to assume Josh is always going to give Jordan Poyer a jockstrap in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the real nice, fluffy pink one, too.
And, it's not like Jordan Poyer does anything in the game to get himself out of your doghouse either, Josh.
No, everything he does puts him further down into it's.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Well, on that note, do you have anything else you'd like to add about the Houston Texans game?
Yeah. After the game, I was very down on Tua.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so. He had a poor outing. I mean, one of his worst games I've seen from him in a very long time. Going back and rewatching the game, looking at the all-22 and everything, Tyreek Hill really stood out to me in the second and third rewatch of the game as a real problem, a genuine problem. I mean, he was, and this is not just me. I mean, I'm not a football guy. I mean, I'm a football guy, but I'm not a professional football guy. So, take it with a grain of salt. But reports have indicated as well, coming out of the Dolphins organization, that Tyreek Hill was consistently running wrong routes. He was either cutting them off too short, he was trailing them off deep, he was running a completely wrong route. And there were two occasions that made me sour on Hill more so than Tua in this game. It was the one where he tried to kick it with his foot because it was a little too far. Like, bro, jump down and dig the ball out. Like, you're a $60-70 million wide receiver. Do something. You know what I mean? You're not a soccer player. And the third interception that Tua threw, I thought that was all Tua. I went back and watched it. It hit Tyreek Hill in both hands.
Yeah,
he did not do anything except give it to the cornerback.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, when you're paying a player that much money and he is the number one option, and he doesn't show up, he's a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm, spoiler alert, maybe a little foreshadowing to some of the off-season stuff coming up here in the next couple weeks. I want him gone.
I think you're gonna find there's company in that line of thinking there, Josh. I did go back and watch the game as well. Didn't watch the all-22, but I went back and watched the game. I watched a lot of Jackson Carman, who was my jockstrap. He was my jockstrap in the game. Deservedly so, but also not deservedly so, because this is, he's never started a tackle before in the NFL, and he kind of got thrown to the wolves a little bit. That's on McDaniel. McDaniel should have given him more help than he got. And then I watched Hill, get that ball ripped away from him by Derek Stingley. I watched Hill probably run the wrong route on Tua's first interception. And then I saw a post on Twitter basically saying that Tua hasn't played more than 70% of the snaps, all but one time since last season.
Tua or Hill?
No, I'm sorry, Hill. Yeah.
Hill hasn't
played.
That makes sense.
Hill hasn't played more than 70% of the snaps, all but one time. And then that was last season. And he played more than 70% of the snaps in this game. So I'm not making excuses for him, because he is, as you said, Josh, the $70 million man, or however much he's making. But with Waddle's injury, with Dubos's injury, towards the end of the game, that receiving core was gassed. That receiving core, and again, not making excuses, You know,
that receiving core is on life support right now.
Yeah, it is.
Like
it is, and I don't know that Waddle plays this week, and I don't know who they're going to bring out to replace him. I expected more from River Craycraft in that game, honestly. I was kind of calling for River Craycraft before Dubos's injury. I thought, where the hell is River Craycraft? You know, I always thought him and Tua had this simpatico connection.
Yep.
And you know, there wasn't really. He was kind of the invisible man in this game.
Yeah, I know he just signed Isaiah McKenzie to the practice squad from Buffalo.
Yeah.
So maybe he gets elevated to play because, I mean, Tua and Waddle are both listed as questionable. Hill's posting stuff on Twitter saying it's time for me to go, coach. Like, who the hell knows? So we need bodies.
Yeah. Put Hill with Josh. He would have 2,000
Jesus.
easy. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
so one of these, right? Like the let's trade for Josh Allen type. I mean, they don't grow on trees, man.
No, I think what he's saying is, you know, I think he's speaking to how I'm interpreting it is based on this one right here.
Yeah.
Two hours a noodle arm, right? So I think he's saying if Josh Allen and Buffalo had Hill would have well over 2,000 yards. That's how I'm interpreting it.
Well,
he had Diggs, and Diggs didn't have 2,000 yards. I'm just,
yeah.
I mean,
no, yeah.
I do think that Hill's game is probably better suited for what Tyreek Hill does best, especially at this stage of his career. Josh Allen's game is, you know, he's probably, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think anybody on this podcast is going to say that Tua is better than Josh Allen, but we got to stop acting like he's awful. I mean,
no, I'm with you 100%.
And to this point right here, yeah, if he hits Hill in stride, that's a TD. Hill should have still caught that ball. He still should have come down with that ball.
Yeah, and the one thing I have a problem with is the whole noodle arm thing on Tua, right? Last year he led the league in completions and throws over 20 yards.
Yeah.
Led the league. Wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And
teams are playing two high safeties on the Dolphins, you know, in spite of Tua's noodle arm, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, they're taking away that deep play. And, you know, you can say that has everything to do with the fact that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are out there, got, you know, speed guys, but also Tua was the one getting them the ball last year. Tua was the one completing those long passes. So this whole noodle arm narrative, you know, like you said, Anthony, nobody's arguing that Josh Allen is a worse quarterback than Tua. Nobody's going to make that argument. Not with a straight face.
I would take Josh Allen as our quarterback 10 times out of 10. But
I would take take Josh Allen over any other quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Hot take, I guess.
No.
But
I take Mahomes, but it's close.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only reason I like Josh Allen more than this, we're getting way off topic here, but the only reason I like Josh Allen more than Mahomes is because of his legs. I think Mahomes is a better passer, but Josh Allen isn't that far behind from a arm talent, but he's much further ahead from a scrambling talent.
Yeah, but Mahomes wins, baby. I want that winner.
That's true.
I want that winning blood.
That's true. That's true. I also think Josh Allen is probably your NFL MVP this season.
Yeah.
I know. I threw up in my mouth. I threw up in my mouth a little bit saying that.
By the way, we signed another long snapper, guys. I have no idea what's going on with long snappers here. We got Jake McQuaid now. Like, what is happening?
It's about interesting. He was a two-time pro. Not that I don't understand how that relates, but he's a two-time pro. He was a two-time Pro Bowler with the Rams as a long snapper. And Ferguson, from the middle of the season, is still on IR for personal reasons. And it sounds like we signed him. He's probably not coming back.
Now,
so I hope he's okay.
Now, these rumors are unsubstantiated, but Ferguson is a type 1 diabetic. So he might have complications with that. We don't, I don't.
Which is a thing.
Yep. Yeah, unsubstantiated rumors. But look, as long as McQuaid gets the job done, I don't really care who.
No,
I don't need to know who the Dolphins long snapper is. If I do know who the Dolphins long snapper is,
it's a problem.
That's a problem because
we've already talked about it far too long than we should have. I was just making a joke, and then we turned it into a segment. So
I think you guys are glossing over the biggest news so far this week. We signed back. Yeah, we signed Scott Thompson back to the fucking practice squad. What does this guy have on this organization? He has dirt on somebody.
Dude, 31 other teams didn't want him, so let's make sure we get him on the practice squad.
Oh,
Stash him.
Fucking real, man.
Isaiah McKenzie, though, that's a good one. He's going to get moved up for sure for the game because all we have is DS Eskridge, and he's questionable.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Yeah. So basically, from this point on, we have to move forward with the idea in our minds, wrap our minds around it. The Dolphins probably aren't making the playoffs this year. They are not mathematically eliminated, but their playoff hopes are on life support. So we kind of need to move forward with that idea in our minds. So I guess what I want to do is I want to start off with this question. What now? What do you see now for the Dolphins? I guess for the rest of the season. What do you want to see for the Dolphins for the rest of the season? Josh, I'll start off with you.
Yeah. I mean, I got a lot of stuff, right? And I won't say it all just because there's only so much we can say about this topic. I don't want to steal everyone's thunder, but I think for me, there's two big things, right? That the organization needs to really have some heartfelt kind of some come to Jesus moments internally, right? I think the first big thing is from an organization standpoint, we need to evaluate everyone down to the damn janitor, all the way up to Chris Greer and everything in between, right? I think organizationally we are flawed. I'm a Dolphins fan for life. I don't care how bad we are. I don't care how good we are. But so I don't want what I'm saying now to upset any like diehard Dolphins fans, but I'm pretty sure everyone would agree at some level that this is a flawed organization right now. We have some very good things. We have some very okay things. We have serviceable things, and we have some really bad things. Chris Greer, I was a huge advocate of his last couple of years. I thought he put really good talent around. I think it's time for him to go. I think we need to get new blood, new perspective, new mentalities, everything that goes with it. When a GM is too comfortable, I feel like they start phoning it in. And I'm not saying that he is. It's just that's what it seems like. How you look at the big things that we have an issue with. Offensive line. Where he came out and said, "Oh, you guys are more worried about the well." We're worried about it for a reason, right? We have a practice squad player starting at right tackle last game. We're still starting Liam Eichenberg for some god-awful reason.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Brewer's been a bright spot on the line. Okay, good. That was a decent signing. We have 3 other starters that are injured, and we're starting a rookie left tackle. Now, Patrick Paul, I think he's going to be pretty damn good. I think he's the left tackle of the future. I'm comfortable saying that. Mm-hmm. But Chris Greer needs to I think he needs to go. I think we need, like I said, I think we need to do some evaluations from other teams, see if we can't pluck maybe the assistant GM from Dallas is a big name that I've heard across all things. He's been under Jerry Jones for a while. They've made some really solid moves. I think he would be a nice get. I know he's turned down a bunch over the last couple of years because he has interviewed for other for the GM positions on other teams, but he would be a great get. Pull somebody from successful organizations, Philadelphia. I think they have a really great run organization. Pittsburgh, they have a really great run organization. I mean, there are plenty of people we can pull into that role. And then the evaluation of Mike McDaniel comes into play because I don't think a decision should be made on Mike McDaniel until a GM is hired. Should Chris Greer be let go, which I think he should be. And then the dominoes will start falling thereafter, right? Because to Anthony's point off air, if Mike McDaniel goes, what happens with Tua, right? If Mike McDaniel stays, Anthony, you said it bluntly, we're screwed with the Tua contract. I'm not saying Tua is a bad quarterback or whatever the case is, but we're locked in. I shouldn't say screwed. We're locked into that contract because as we've alluded to, and for those new listeners, I see a few new faces on here. I did a breakdown of Tua's contract where there is an out after this year where the franchise can get out of the majority of the money. So there is a decision to be made. And things like that really need to happen. And the next thing, last thing, and I'll shut up, guys, is really just I think we should start plugging in our young players and seeing what kind of talent we have, seeing what we have at every position. Plug in Patrick Paul, let him start. Teron Armstead, you've been great. Be a coach from the bench. Jalen Wright slotting in at number 2. Chop and Kamara play on the ends for the rest of the season. See what we got in them. those are the kind of things that I think the organization needs to do.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. I agree with I'm on the fence about McDaniel. I'm on the fence about Greer, honestly, because Greer has done some nice things for this franchise, and that shouldn't be understated. Anthony, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I find it interesting that the current regime continues to try to build the roster from the outside in rather than the inside out.
Yeah.
I at first I was like, okay, they're just doing things differently. They're using the pieces they had because we already had Jalen Waddle, we already had Tua, so let's trade for Tyreek. Let's build around what we have. But now it's like year 3, right? And they still haven't really built the inside, like the 2 walls that you need to build up. I mean, we have stopgap and Calais Campbell playing defensive tackle. If we didn't have him, it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
And then we're banking on defensive. We're banking on Bradley Chubb to come back, and it's never able to come back. How do you not know that? How do you not know he's not going to play this season? That's like ridiculous that you wouldn't know that information. And maybe they did, and they just didn't say anything. But that whole Bradley Chubb situation, like, if it's so bad that he is not going to play at all this season, that I have no confidence this guy's going to come back and be the same Bradley Chubb he was before. And what are you doing? Like, I don't know what his contract looks like, but it just seems like, okay, we just ate a dude's year of his contract because we were hopeful he was going to come back. And then to the point of Tua, like, I believe True Phins fan says next year's the last year, and Josh, you said this year. I don't know what the last year to get out of this contract is, but like, you got to make a decision on him. He's a $60 million quarterback after this year or whatever. So what's your decision? Is he worth $60 million a year, or is he not worth $60 million a year, or whatever it is? It's close enough to 60, just, so I mean, the questions for the offseason are so many that my head hurts just thinking about it. It truly does. Like, if a GM comes in, I can see more than half of this roster being cut or just not re-signed. As it is, we have like 35 guys on the unrestricted free agent list, so it's half the roster already. As for this season, though, I want to just see. I think this right here. I seriously hope Stephen Ross is watching these last 3 games to see how this team plays, to see if he's going to keep this staff, right? Like, if they go out there and they lose these 3 games, you got the Cleveland Browns out there who are switching to Dorian Thompson, I can't throw the ball, Robinson. You got the San Francisco 49ers who are getting healthy but still look awful, getting just beat down by the Rams. And then we got the Jets. I hate to say it, the Jets look like they're going to whoop our butt right now, the way they're playing.
Yeah.
So, like, if we lose these 3 games, I do not know how you can make an argument for bringing the McDaniel and Greer back. So what I want to see is I want to see wins. Like, if you're serious, if this team is seriously behind you and your scheme still works like you say it does, then this team should win these 3 games. These are all winnable games. These are not winning teams, right? Not a single team.
What?
Our bread and butter, right? Not a single team on this last 3 games is a winning team. In fact, the Browns haven't won since like week 6 or some shit. So like, come on, get these 3 wins, close out the season at 9-8, get everybody a little hopeful. Oh, 9-8, maybe we'll make the playoffs. Let's scoreboard watch. It ain't happening. Okay, like, we literally needed Chargers to lose out in order for that to happen.
Yeah,
and I just don't see that happening because they have a soft schedule too. So. Yeah, I want to see the team finish strong, which we have not seen lately, past few seasons.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing right there, Anthony. I think we want to see them actually win in December and January, regardless of what teams they play. Like, going into this season, these last 5 games, starting with the Packers game, last 6 games, starting with the Packers game, were supposed to be like this gauntlet for the Dolphins. The Jets were supposed to be good. The Browns made the playoffs last year. Texans, 49ers made the Super Bowl last year. This was supposed to be this gauntlet for the Dolphins, and it hasn't turned out to be that. But we still want to see them finish up strong. I don't really
Some good points in the chat too on this. So
yeah,
I'll bring them up for you, Keith. So cold weather games, that's a good point.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yep.
It's going to be brutal.
Let's beat that narrative.
Those last two games are in Cleveland and in New York. In our neck of the woods, fellas.
Yep.
So
and we said it on last show. The cold weather and the can't beat winning teams. Where there's smoke, there's fire, man. Like I don't care how many I've gotten into so many arguments on social media with fans saying, "Oh, it's just a no." Like at the end of the day, we can't beat a winning team and we can't win in the cold. Like until you do it, you know.
Lots of support, guys, behind moving on here as well. True Fin fan we know is not a fan of McDaniel.
Yes.
I got game. Very valid point here. I don't know if we could have got Wilson for $1 million. That the dynamic is what we're not considering, but the point is made. We should have had a better backup quarterback.
Wilson wanted to start. So we could have. There's a ton of guys we could have had.
Yep. I got game. This is a real good one.
Yep. 25 years of mediocrity under I mean, Greer hasn't been the GM for all 25 years, but he's been in the front office for those at 25 years. Oh, this one's brutal. I love the last. I love the end of it.
Soft. Cap throwing haymakers.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I made this analogy earlier on in the season. The Dolphins always felt like they always felt like a team. Like, if you skip dinner and go straight to dessert, you skip over the meat and potatoes and go straight for the chocolate cake. We all love chocolate cake. We all love.
I was about to say
the splash signing of the splash trade for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, but your meat and potatoes are your offensive line, your defensive line, your guys that are going to be in the trenches protecting your $60 million quarterback. And protecting your linebackers and making your defensive backs look good. Bill Parcells knew how to build a football team. Bill Parcells always built from the inside out. This is not, and Anthony, this is what you were talking about. The Dolphins did this in the inverse. Chris Greer did this in the inverse. He built from the outside in. And I think we're seeing now that when you do that, your team is going to be soft.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, as someone from Miami, right now, I live in Connecticut now, but someone that grew up in Miami for most of my life, there's a stigma around Miami sports teams. So Heat, Panthers, like all of them. Whoa, we have to be flashy. We have to be the Ferrari. We have to. It's Miami. It's South Beach. It's all. And the fact you couldn't have said it better, Keith. Like in football, winning and losing is done in the trenches primarily.
Yeah.
You control the line of scrimmage, you control the game.
Yeah.
And I've said it a million different ways, but essentially we're a Ferrari in a snowstorm.
Two of those teams have won in Miami as well, with the Panthers and the Heat. Where the Dolphins fans were still waiting, boys. We're still waiting.
I'm a fan of all of them.
Keith, you're the host, so you don't get to answer very often. What are your feelings, especially around the cap? True Fin fans got a lot to say about the cap here. What do you think about that situation?
So every season from year two, we've been getting squeezed by the cap, like a boa slowly squeezing the life out of its prey. The cap will finish this era after this. The cap will finish this era after next season. Get ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Well, that's what you get when you get all these flashy signings. I remember when the Dolphins went out and signed Ndamukong Suh, and I was texting my best friend who's a Patriots fan saying, "Oh, Brady better be scared because Ndamukong Suh's coming for him." Looking back, a splash signing like the Ndamukong Suh signing, a splash trade like the Tyreek Hill trade, or the Jalen Ramsey trade, or even the Bradley Chubb trade. These aren't trades the Dolphins need to make. These aren't trades the Dolphins necessarily should have made. Tyreek Hill did add another level to the Dolphins offense. Agreed. But the Dolphins drafted Jalen Ramsey. Who was available when the Dolphins drafted Jalen Ramsey? Penei Sewell.
We didn't draft Jalen Ramsey. What do you mean Phillips?
Jalen Waddle. I'm sorry.
Oh, Waddle. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When the Dolphins drafted Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell was available. So now the Dolphins have all these high-end players, and that makes their roster extra top-heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was super pumped about the Tyreek Hill trade. The other trades I was not, but the Tyreek Hill trade, I was like, let's go, baby.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was pumped in the moment too. I was pumped when they signed Ndamukong Suh. I was pumped when they signed Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey. I'm pumped when they make these splash acquisitions. But you're not seeing the forest through the trees. And then you make these splash acquisitions. You trade for Jalen Ramsey. Now you're compelled to pay Jalen Ramsey. Now you're compelled to make Jalen Ramsey the top paid cornerback in the NFL. You're compelled to make Tyreek Hill the top paid wide receiver in the NFL. The Dolphins, they extended Tyreek Hill this offseason. Why?
I mean, it all feels like fool's gold. Jalen Ramsey couldn't convince 2 other teams to pay him the top cornerback money in the NFL, so he's like, "Let's go to Miami. Those guys are idiots."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and to true Fin fans' point about the cap, that's why we're constantly in cap hell, because we're paying all these guys top wide receiver money or top left tackle money in the case of Teron Armstead. Or top, we're not building through the draft. And when you don't build through the draft, you say, okay, screw those picks. Our Super Bowl window is now. Well, now the Dolphins have missed that window, and now they're going to go through cap hell as a result.
Yeah, and to your
Time
point,
to pay the piper.
Well, and to your point, I think that's the life cycle of a franchise, though, and that's where I'll push back a little bit, right? So you build, we had 40 million draft picks in a span of 4 years, right?
Sure.
With the Tunsil trade. So we built through the draft, and then we filled in with high-priced free agents that were flashy, because this organization. Now, I don't agree with the choice per se, but the organization evaluated the roster and thought it was in a Super Bowl window. We have 3 years to win a Super Bowl, or at least to win a playoff game for that matter, right? None of it happened. Well, now.
Sorry, my camera is a little fuzzy.
We're just going on a journey with Keith right
now.
I'll stop the cam. I'll stop the cam.
We evaluated the organization evaluated the team.
Good luck finishing the statement now.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It was fun. Nice shorts.
Hey, my camera's not blurry anymore.
There we go. Okay. Let's reel it in, fellas. So the organization evaluated the team and thought, okay, we're a few pieces away. So they go out and they spend all the crazy money. Well, it didn't work. And I think now we're getting to the end of this life cycle. So what's happening now? We're going to have to make all the changes, and we're going to go through another rebuild. And hope to God we're not doing it with the same front office staff that we have now. I'm sorry.
I hope so.
Up until the last couple of weeks, I was I shouldn't say massive. I was an advocate for Mike McDaniel. I thought, okay, he's having a down year. He's human. Shit happens, right? Teams have adjusted. He needs to learn how to adjust. He's still a relatively new head coach.
Yep.
I thought Chris Greer, to all of the points we've made, has made some okay decisions. He's made some bad decisions. He made some questionable decisions. But, hey, it could be worse, right? We could have Dennis Hickey. Right. And
God, what a pull.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, hey, we've been in darker times, right? Now, the irony in that is you look at the winning percentages as a GM, and actually Greer has the worst winning percentage of, I think, all of our GMs. So, but that's besides the point. I think what we really need to understand is that we're getting to the end of this life cycle, and we're going to start changing some hopefully change some front office people, which are potentially there are going to be some coaching changes. I don't know if it's going to be Mike McDaniel or not. Should it be? That's a whole nother show. We can talk about that. However, I do think we're going to start seeing a lot of changes from a personnel standpoint. I'll be really curious to see what happens.
So my question for you guys is directly related to this. And, we know that Joe Douglas recently got released from the New York Jets, and he was part of Howie Roseman's team over there in Philadelphia for a decade, if not more. Mm-hmm. So, he did some good things with the Jets. He did some really bad things with the Jets. What are your thoughts on somebody like a Joe Douglas? He's somewhat proven, but also there's the Aaron Rodgers side that like sullied the rest of like the end of his career with the Jets.
Well,
there.
I don't think he had much choice in the Aaron Rodgers thing, Anthony. I think that was just kind of a foregone conclusion. But the one question I would have for Joe Douglas is what the hell happened with Hassan Reddick?
That's the one that stands out to me more than Rodgers. I forgot about
Yeah.
it. Like, but yeah, like what was that?
Yeah,
what happened
that's a
there?
red mark on your resume.
Yeah, it most definitely is. I like Joe Douglas. I live in the Philadelphia area, as you guys know, and Joe Douglas was always a guy who was highly touted even long before he got that GM job in New York.
Mhm.
Eagles fans absolutely loved him. He was a great scout. He was good at evaluating talent and getting the Eagles talent in the later rounds of the draft, in the latter rounds of the draft. And that's something the Dolphins have kind of lacked under Chris Grier. This year notwithstanding, and this year's draft is why I'm not 100% sold on firing Chris Grier, just by the way, because I think this was a really nice draft class by him.
He's had a few good drafts, I feel like. It's just there's like some really boneheaded moves, like not getting a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, the problem with Grier has never been the late rounds. We've been touted as a team that drafts well in the late rounds. The problem is we suck at drafting the top end talent in the first couple rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's kind of where Chris Grier could improve. That's kind of where a guy like Joe Douglas could maybe help us out. I don't know. Joe Douglas is a guy that I would be interested in checking out, though, Anthony. Absolutely.
He definitely, without hesitation. I'll keep it short and sweet. Without hesitation, I would take Joe Douglas over Chris Grier any day. Personally.
What are your thoughts on him, Anthony?
I mean, listen, you guys know we all live up here. I mean, seeing Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner and all of these home run picks in the first round, it's something I've been dying for as a Dolphins fan. Yeah, guys who can make an impact from day one. What is that? I would love to give him a shot. I mean, I don't know the other GM candidates. Admittedly, I'm not up to date with who the hot names are in the GM circles, but
honestly, few do, Anthony. Few do. I mean, you do. Josh?
Naturally,
truthfully, guys, Howie Roseman, I think, is for what it's worth, is the best GM in football. And if somebody is learning under him, I want that somebody. Right?
Well, and a candidate that I know that will be on a short list of names for the Dolphins is the Eagles' assistant GM. I forget what the guy's name is, but I know he's a hot name in GM circles.
It's him. It's Joe Douglas. It's I'm blanking on his name. The assistant GM from the Cowboys. And it's the player personnel something from the Ravens, I think, are the four top ones right now.
Yes. And those are four organizations. Well, those are organizations that you named, the Jets notwithstanding, that are stable, winning organizations. The Ravens and Eagles being kind of the gold standard that we're talking about here. Organizations that are just always in the mix. The Eagles might have a bad season every now and then, but they're going to be back. They always come back. Last season, they collapsed and they looked like they were down and out, and they've won like 10 straight games. They only have 2 losses in the season. They look like, to me, the best team in the NFC right now. They always come back. The Ravens, they're always,
I hate it, dude.
I know, me too.
My buddy's an Eagles fan. He's like a braggadocious fan. I'm just like, God, I just want to freaking win. Can't we win?
Dude, they make the Saquon trade and they look like rock stars.
Yep. I have tons of friends who are Eagles fans up here. Pretty much all of them except for like a few. It's tough.
How do you make a heart shape?
Boom.
Thank you.
Get with it.
Love you guys. Love the chat. We love having you guys with us.
You guys
absolutely. Steve, our buddy Steve checked in tonight.
Hey, there the OG.
What if Miami doesn't do anything in the front office and just addresses the holes of this year?
I mean, that'll be something.
Well,
I'd still be annoyed that we're running a screenplay every 3.5 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this: if the Dolphins don't do anything in the front office as far as Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier goes, I want to see something from Mike McDaniel next year. Josh, you've spoken to it. If Mike McDaniel does come back next year, he probably is on the thinnest of thin ice.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at, for me, I want anything short of a playoff victory will be an absolute failure, if not more, for Mike McDaniel next season. Like,
I mean,
need
if
to
Mike
see
McDaniel comes back next season, unless I think he would be on such thin ice that if he strings together one or like 2 or 3 losses, I would assume he would be gone. I mean, that's what kind of thin ice I'm talking about, which is to Anthony's point from a few shows ago.
Yeah.
At that point, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because then you're sacrificing an entire season with the hopes that Mike McDaniel can get his shit together. And I don't mean to cuss on the show. I know it's a family-friendly show, but I'm like,
who would be the interim head coach? We don't have any strong coordinators.
Well, Weaver, I will say Anthony Weaver is on quite a lot of people's like up and coming head coach. So my assumption would be he would probably be the interim, but he might not even be here next year because he's getting word is that there are quite a lot of teams that want to.
That's insane to me. It's a first-year defensive coordinator.
What and it's not like the Dolphins' defense has been great either.
We're not top 3. I mean,
no.
Well, we were at one point. Before the season. Not kidding.
Frank Smith would be interim.
That's my fear. This is my
that.
fear exactly right here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that.
I don't want that either. I would much prefer Anthony Weaver.
Nobody wants that.
So, look, I'm going to end this segment by saying this to you guys, to everybody out there in the chat. Guys, this is going to be a long off season. There's going to be a lot of conversations to be had.
I love the off season.
Regarding free agency, regarding what we do in the draft, regarding what we do with our front office, with our coaching staff. There are so many conversations we're going to have. So just because the Dolphins aren't playing games anymore doesn't mean that we don't have compelling things to say on this show. I'm going to end this segment by saying that. And I'm going to say that we need to move on to the 49ers because the Dolphins do still have a game on Sunday. So, last home game of the season for the Dolphins in Hard Rock Stadium against the 49ers, who they've been struggling of late. Brock Purdy's been struggling without Christian McCaffrey, without Jordan Mason. Isaac Orendo is their starting running back right now. He's out too?
I think so. Or he did not participate in practice all week so far.
Okay.
With a foot and a hamstring.
So I don't know who's going to be their running back on Sunday.
Patrick Taylor Jr. and Israel Abanikanda.
Oh, former Jet star.
I wanted him so bad in the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of did too. He's a compelling player. But
sorry, True fan got me rolling in the chat.
Yep, he did. He just called another screen.
Just called him in his sleep. His wife was probably like, "Mike, please stop calling screen passes in your sleep."
It went for 2 yards. Damn.
His next born kid's going to be called Screen.
I will say this about McDaniel, and I'm sorry I'm getting off topic again, but like this guy's supposed to be a running game guru. Dolphins running game has been bad for the past 6 or 7 weeks.
Why?
We need guards to run.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think you guys are more worried about the offensive line than we are.
Yeah.
Hey, Greer, suck one.
Two of the worst starting guards in the league, and they're like, "We're gonna run the ball, guys."
Practice squad level players at a lot of the offensive line position.
All right, so this 49ers game, certainly a winnable game. I think we've talked about this. 49ers still have a defense. They still have Fred Warner out there. They still have, heck of a defense. I think it's just their offense that's been kind of, they're just, Ayuk's out for the season. George Kittle's still out there, but man, their offense has struggled. They lost 12-6 last week to the Rams. So that just tells you how much their offense has been struggling because it's not like the Rams have a great defense either. So, Anthony, I'll start with you. How do you see this game going for the Dolphins? Do you see a win? What do you think?
I truly feel like it's going to be a lot like that game against the Rams. I mean, I am not loving our matchup against this defense. I think they have really good pass rushers and good enough secondary to make up for any errant throws or anything like that and take advantage of it. I just, man, I'm really nervous about this one because everybody's like, oh, the 49ers are kind of dragging. They have the big win against the Bears, but the Bears look like the worst team in football right now. And then they haven't won, like they're 1-4 in their last 5. They have the same record as us. We're both 6-8. But gosh, do I look at this roster and think to myself, we're in trouble. I mean, come on, Nick Bosa alone is going to tear apart.
Don't forget Greenlaw at linebacker.
Right, Dre Greenlaw's back, right? I mean, it's insane. They got Leonard Floyd on the other side of Bosa, which is just nuts to me. And it's just, man, Fred Warner, Treferius Ward, Taloa Hufanga, however you say his name. Like,
he's back. Yeah, he was out with a wrist. He's back. And Malik Mustafa, he's one of my favorite safeties. I love him. Like, not a top safety, but one of my favorite role player safeties.
Yeah. I'm really trying to find a positive here for us, and I really want us to win these last 3 games. But like, if we're looking at what matchups have given us a hard time these past few weeks, like this is the matchup right here that's given us a hard time. Like the stout defense has just killed us, right? Like we got killed by Will Anderson last week, right? And then the linebacker who none of us can pronounce.
Tua.
Right. The Green Bay Packers absolutely destroyed us just by, keeping everything short. Like, go ahead, throw it deep, and we couldn't do it. It's, I don't know if you want final scores yet, so I'm not going to give final scores yet, but my feeling on this game is not confident. I just feel like our offense has been playing so poorly that this could be legitimately a 12-6 game again, just like their last game. Maybe Jason Sanders will win it for us with 4 field goals. I don't know. It could go either way at this point.
I'll take it at this point.
Yeah, I will too. This 49ers team, their defense, like, as I said, is still a stout unit. They still have some standout players on defense. So I think where the Dolphins have to win this game is with their own defense. Force turnovers of Brock Purdy. Debo Samuel doesn't look like the Debo Samuel of old. Just force Brock Purdy to lose this game.
Sorry, Keith. I have a text chain with some buddies for fantasy football, and they said the same thing. Like, Debo doesn't look like the Debo of old. I'm like, actually, he looks exactly like the Debo of old. His one good season was his year where he was on a contract season. And then after that, right back to being Debo, the lazy wide receiver who runs his route short and doesn't catch the ball. Like,
look, it's fair.
It's Debo being Debo.
That's totally fair. Well, that's what we're looking at because he's their top receiver right now. Him, Jawan Jennings,
Jawan's scarier. Jawan's crazy.
Yeah. But no Brandon Ayuk, which is good. No Christian McCaffrey. No.
Jesus, could you imagine what the score would be like if they were fully loaded? It'd be 78-10.
Well, and there's a reason why going into the season why we were so scared of this game. This was a game that we all looked at like, damn, I don't know if they can pull this.
There's also a reason why I drafted fucking CMC in number 1 overall, but hey, that's a whole nother conversation for another podcast.
I'm a little scared of Kader Kohu going against Ricky Pearsall, though. I mean, he hasn't been hot these past few weeks, but Pearsall had a couple good games in there. He's a quick boy.
Yeah, he was one of my man crushes in the draft out of University of Florida. I will tell you this, fellas. One guy I am worried about is Kittle.
Yeah.
We get destroyed by tight ends.
Yeah, and Brock Bowers absolutely tore us apart. We lamented that after the Raiders game.
And McBride.
And McBride, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I really do think this is going to be a battle of tight ends. I think Jonnu Smith's going to go off, and I think Kittle's going to go off. And I know we're not giving predictions yet, but I don't know if we win this one, fellas.
Well, True Fin fan, he gave a prediction.
No,
Miami 13, Browns 16. I know. I say
okay.
But don't trust me on this one. I have no feel for this game. I think we're all kind of in the same boat here, True Fin fan, especially because you said Browns 16, Dolphins 13. Well, now we're talking about the 49ers up it by 10 points.
I can confidently say his previous prediction was going to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
At least this week.
Yeah. We have Mike from Nickel City Mafia checking in. Thank you for checking in, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Welcome.
Mike.
Happy holidays. So I guess it's time to get into predictions here. This is a game that I don't think any of us have a great feel for. So I'm going to start on this one. I'm going to try and keep things positive, try and keep things. You got a bunch of Dolphins players right now that are fighting for their season. You have a Dolphins coach who's fighting for his job. An organization that is uncertain about their future. So the only way to get more certain is to pull out victories, tough victories against a 49ers team that is still a dangerous football team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dolphins do win this one. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be an ugly football game. I think the Dolphins will win this one 17-13.
Okay. 17. You said 17-13?
17-13.
Oh, God, that's going to be a horrible game to watch.
Miami.
All right.
Who's next? Can't run. Dolphins will be inept once again. The 49ers.
Welcome to the show, Steven.
Pass rush.
Hey.
Everybody, you know it's the end of the Dolphins season when everybody who comes in is coming in shooting bullets.
Yeah.
They come in hot, Steven. Dump a couple off and then dump out. I don't blame you guys. I don't blame you.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough game. I agree with you, Steven. But I do think the Dolphins can come out with a victory here off the back of their defense because I don't think the 49ers are going to score many points either. Josh, what are your predictions for this one?
Well, you guys know I'm the ever optimist, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins. I have Miami losing.
Yeah.
21-17. I think, we're going to score a bunch of field goals. They're going to score a bunch of touchdowns. No, not a bunch, but they're going to score touchdowns when we're going to respond with a bunch of screen passes and some long field goals from Jason Sanders. And, as much as I want to say, maybe Mike McDaniel finally, opens it up and gets back to last year's offense. We pretty much have the same players. There's no reason for us to, outside of maybe the line, well, not maybe, but the line's worse. But I have zero confidence right now in him as a head coach. Calling plays, right? I think he's done wonders for Tua. I've said it many times. I think he revitalized that man's career. I think he's done, he's a great people person and that's all nice and good. But when it comes to calling plays, he's stubborn. When it comes to his scheme, he's stubborn. And I forgot who said it in our side chat. Teams are caught up, right? It's plain as day. And the fact that he's not making any adjustments or seemingly not making any adjustments, I shouldn't say he's not, but if he is making adjustments, none of them are working. The fact that we're throwing 7 million screens a game, I just don't see how we can think it's going to be any different. It's been that way all season. And that's not going to win it against this defense. This San Francisco's offense, not what it's been, right? Because they're decimated with injuries. But their defense, I could see their defense getting a pick six or a scoop and score or multiple turnovers that lead the offense to touchdown. It's all kinds of stuff. So we're in shambles right now. And I'll be thrilled if we get a win. I'm pushing for it inside in my heart. With my head, for the fans, they deserve honesty. The fans of the show, they deserve nothing but honesty. So 17-21, Miami loses.
Okay. Just going to get the true Phins fan. Don't get me wrong. No matter what, I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to cheer. I'm still going to pray for a win every game. I have no choice. This team's my heart. I think we're with you, man. We're right there with you. Yep. I think we all, and yourself included, Finn, true Fin fan, we all bleed aqua and orange. We love this team. We want to see them win. And I don't want to see them lose if that means, even if it means they get a better draft pick in April. I don't care about that right now. I want to see the Dolphins win some football games.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I signed on.
Yeah, what good is a top 10 draft pick if we're just going to draft another experiment that's going to not play the first 6 weeks of the year?
It's injured all the time, but hey, we'll fix it.
Yeah. So Anthony, give me your prediction for the 49ers game here.
Yeah, I got to say, I just was going back to look to see how McDaniel's team has done in the last home game of the year in his tenure so far, and it ain't too pretty. Skylar Thompson led us to victory against the Jets in his rookie in McDaniel's rookie year, 11-6.
Yeah,
what a game, boys!
I remember that
what
game. Man, that was a brutal one to watch.
That was a slog, man.
Yeah.
And then last year, the division on the line at home. What better place to put up and shut everybody else up? No way. We lost 21-14 to Buffalo. I see a lot of the same, man. This team doesn't show up in big moments. We got Tyreek over there talking about leaving. It's a dramatic team in every sense of the word, and not in a good sense. So I think San Francisco wins this. I'm going to say 21-10 because I don't have a lot of faith in the offense right now.
Jesus. Okay. Who are they starting? Skylar?
Listen, last week I was the lowest predicted score for the Dolphins. And y'all were like, oh, they scored 30 points a game. So this week I'm going even lower until this dang offense proves me wrong. I'm trying to neg them a little bit.
All right. Well, let me ask you. I know we're getting close to that hour mark, fellas, but let me ask you guys a question. And I'm not going to respond to keep it short because I don't know when to shut up. But I just talk and talk and talk. If Miami was to win this game, what has to happen? Keith?
They need to force some They need to force some turnovers.
So it's defensive.
Okay. I'm with you guys. I don't have much faith in the Dolphins offense right now, especially against this 49ers defense. But if one thing the Dolphins haven't done a lot of this season is force turnovers. They haven't given the Dolphins short fields. They haven't given Tua a short field. So that's what it's going to take for me to see the Dolphins come out with victory. 2 or 3 turnovers from Brock Purdy and company.
Cool. What about you, Anthony?
I'd have to agree. Brock Purdy has not looked very good. And, if you look at San Francisco's schedule, and they got ripped apart by Green Bay and Buffalo, 38-10, 35-10. Yeah. Right. So you can score on this team, but we don't play, Green Bay and Buffalo both play traditional style offenses. They don't play this dink and dunk horse crap that we have to deal with over here. Hey, if we go back to playing traditional style offense like we were doing when Tua first got back, I don't think it was a coincidence. We were playing really well, 30 points a game. There we go. And maybe we're overreacting to the fact that we only scored 12 points last week, despite the previous 4 weeks being, really high scoring. And perhaps my score is overreaction, but I just the more we keep throwing the wide receiver screen and pretending this is going to fool somebody, like we haven't already run it 6,000 times this year, the more my blood boils. Just the first play of the game's a wide receiver screen 90% of the time. It's unbelievable. It's who do you think you're fooling? I understand getting the ball in your playmaker's hands, but this is not in a good, healthy way.
True Fin fan. In order to win, we have to run the ball.
Yep.
McDaniel can't be predictable. We need a pick 6 and another turnover.
We're just truly,
So remember, you have a beast of a tight end. Great point there. All right, so guys, we're getting to the hour mark here, and we kind of said since we're doing a Sunday show and a Wednesday show, we're going to try and keep both around 45 minutes. Well, we've eclipsed that by 13 minutes and counting now.
Good man.
So I'm going to go to you guys for final thoughts. And Anthony, I will start with you.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that joined us today. Cap for Life, I Got Game, AJ and Jay, your new person here. Thanks for coming in, man. True Fin fan, as always, buddy. Love having you here every week. Our boy Steve joining us in the chat. Love you, Steve. Thanks for watching, man. Really appreciate that. And then even Nickel City Mafia. They've been a huge supporter since we started, obviously. Keith, that's where you got your start. And then Stephen Baker popped in just to drill a hole further into the Dolphins. But we still appreciate you coming in and making a comment. So that's my final thought for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for and if you guys like what you saw, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, comment. We will try and get back to you in the comments if you want to make a comment on the show. Josh, any final thoughts?
Not really much I can't add much to what Anthony said, right? I'll drill home what you just said, Keith. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, right? It helps with the algorithms and helps us, get up and do these shows 2 times a week. And we really appreciate it. But to all of y'all out there that are watching this now live, or all of those that are watching, later on, please have a very safe holiday.
Yes.
Have an enjoyable holiday with your families. And don't forget to come join us after the game this week. It'll be a late one. but it'll be a late show, reaction show, but we're going to jump on. At least we'll try to all three get on, but maybe it'll just be one or two of us, but we'll put together some comments for you.
Yeah. Oh, and congrats to Keith on the promotion. Everybody hit him up in
Hey.
the chat. Keith got a promotion today.
Yeah.
Thank
huge,
you.
buddy.
Thank you. So we're going to do a show on Sunday, 8:00 after the Dolphins 49ers game. The Dolphins 49ers game plays 4, and we're going to be doing a show at 8:00, a post-game show. So just like the post-game show on Sunday, we're going to be probably a little emotional. Win, lose, or draw. We're going to be a little emotional about the game. Game balls and jock straps. We're going to be doing that for you guys as well. And that will be our last show before Christmas. Next week, by the way, Christmas is on a Wednesday. We're going to move the show to Thursday because I don't think anybody's going to tune in for Christmas anyway.
I won't be here anyway. So
I ain't tuning in for Christmas. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, if you do, I admire your dedication, but no, I think we all have stuff going on Christmas, so we'll do it on Thursday instead.
Also, schedule pending on the Browns game right now. I think it's a Monday night game, but they are probably going to move us to the daytime on Sunday.
They flexed us to 4:25 already.
Oh, okay. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
They flexed the game to 4:25 on Sunday, so
ain't nobody
we're doing another 8:00 post game show. So guys, for Josh, for Anthony, for Steve, the newly departed Steve,
he's still alive. He was in his
not dead.
Yeah, he's not dead. He just
rest in peace.
We have a good night, and we will see you on Sunday after the Dolphins 49ers game.
Later, everyone.
Fins up, baby.